Listen to this. Trump is seeking to pay for his new $1.5 trillion military budget by cutting the following: $510 million grants for farmers, $82 million loans for rural small businesses, fully eliminates that program. $61 million support for farmers, fully eliminated. $240 million school meal and food education. $659 million community building grants. $49 million support for minority-owned businesses, fully eliminated. $449 million economic development grants for communities. $1.6 billion weather forecasting, fisheries, and coastal protection. NOAA, the program they already cut, which has led to a shit ton of people dying over these weather events. $993 million scientific research and technology standards. $150 million support for American exports and trade. $2.2 billion broadband internet access in rural areas where farmers are and underprivileged people are, and they don't have access to the internet. $8.5 billion funding for public schools at a time when all our tax dollars are going to these goddamn voucher programs to rich kids. $1.5 billion vocational training programs, fully eliminated. Training that's needed because everybody's losing their jobs over AI. $2.7 billion college access and higher education support. $15.2 billion roads, bridges, and infrastructure projects. Contractors who own businesses, if you voted for Trump, this means you getting less money awarded for bids. You're not going to get them. $1.1 billion home energy efficiency and clean energy programs fully eliminated at a time when fuel prices are skyrocketing. $1.1 billion scientific research funding. We're going backwards. $386 million environmental cleanup programs. Look at the environmental disasters we're doing overseas, bombing all these oil refineries. $150 million cutting edge clean energy research. $4 billion help paying home heating and cooling bills for low income families. Fully eliminated. $5 billion public health programs, mental health services, and disease prevention. Look at how many people died already with the recent listeria outbreak. $775 million local anti-poverty programs, fully eliminated. $5 billion medical research. Think of all the people with cancer.
Shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor is due to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai Ba'ashim Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. News in the gospel broad, lifting up the stern of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. It says, basically, all these programs that Trump is eliminating due to the federal budget that he wants to conjure up for war. He wants that money. I think $1.5 trillion. When I think they just damn near $1 trillion for war. Taxpayers' money, and all this is taxpayers' money, by the way. All right, they're not funding this shit themselves, but nonetheless, he needs $1.5 trillion to extend the military budget, and this is the reason why they was cursing out this guy Pete Hegseth when he went up before the Congress and proposing that he gets another $1.5 trillion. They're like, wait a minute, I thought you was winning the war. I thought you just had X amount of dollars. I thought we just gave you X amount of dollars, and yeah, you're actually for another 1.5 trillion. Like, who just have that lying around? That's a damn near 10% of a third of the debt. Because I think we're in a $38 trillion deficit, and he's asked for $1.5 trillion, which is insane. So he's cutting all these programs, and he's cutting opportunities for the so-called American people, when in fact he was supposed to make America great again. Okay, he was supposed to bring back jobs, and he was supposed to boost the private and public sectors and giving people business loans, and allegedly giving people the opportunity they need to make their lives sustain. Okay, that was what he pushed when his campaign run, going back into 2024, 25, when he was inaugurated. He was basically stating that he was going to put the Americans first, and all of a sudden, that went left because the Epstein shit came out. So now they pushed him into, which the small hats is all behind this, man. All right, because Trump know what he's doing is fucked up. But see, this is what happens when you have dirt on you, and at the same time, you're just of the wicked. So it's not surprising they want to cut all these programs and take more money from the poor to feed the rich, and that's what it's always been about. So I'm reading the comments, and people are talking about, yeah, we got to go down there and vote. Voting has got you in this predicament in the first goddamn place, man. Because you people are voting, but everybody you're voting for is simply putting you in dire straits. You know, it was Obama, then you had Trump, it was 2016. Everybody was so relieved that Obama got out of office because he didn't do shit for the poor, but instead he made the rich richer. And then all of a sudden Trump comes in, everybody was panicking and like, oh shit, Trump is gonna take us to the third world war. But in fact, things tend to, I ain't gonna say things got better on Trump's watch, but prices was down. But regardless of it, things were still going up gradually. And then 2020 hit, the Democrats won the election, Biden got in office, and then the pandemic hit, which it actually hit on Trump's watch. But as a transfer of power, then Biden came into office, and then you had a shit show for the last 4 years. Inflation had increased in certain cities 17% in 1 year. And then here we go, 2025, and shit gotten worse. 2026, you know? Which, you know, they were never in the business of making people's lives easier, but nonetheless, they're squeezing you for every nickel and dime because, hey, like I mentioned, lobbyists, man. Why haven't you people rose up to the occasion? Like, what the fuck is these people thinking? Well, we gotta go and vote. We gotta vote. Your vote don't mean anything. Maybe if you people didn't support it and didn't go down there and select these officials, which presidents are selected, by the way, but maybe if you went down there and you didn't select it, look at the outcome. But this is what happens when you live in a lost society, man. These people are literally stupid, okay, to say the least. And stupid is an understatement for you Americans, man, because you people, you're beyond dumb, you know. But anyway, let me get a quick precept and then we'll finish playing the video because she's reading a lot of shit off. And she's reading off, I don't know where she's reading from, but she's reading a document that allegedly had all this printed on there. So I'm assuming you can look it up and find these things and compare it. Because I don't think it's capped, because I mean, how is he gonna get the fucking money? He's gonna have to cut these programs. You know, federal funding, hell, DEI has already been phased out. Hence a lot of you Jake women getting laid off left and right now. Because DEI ain't protecting your jobs no more. You know? But anyway, let's get a precept and then we'll come back to this video. So this is the book of Habakkuk 2. And I'm going to start at verses up 4. It says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith, because it's going to require faith to the 10th power in order to come through this particular time you're getting ready to enter into, known as Jacob's trouble. Okay, everybody is getting ready to go without, and we all are getting ready to feel the squeeze. Okay, these apartments and houses and shit like that we reside in, and these jobs we got, they're temporary. They're just temporary means to end. All right, brother, you ain't gonna have that job you working for forever. All right, you ain't gonna have that shit forever. The apartment you living in, it just means to end. This place is getting ready to see decay. And it's a good thing, man, because, hey, we're ready for your house shot to come back, because when the kingdom come, you ain't gonna be working no goddamn job, no 9 to 5. Kings don't work, man. Now, we will have a duty as to putting the nations in order, all right, and beating the shit out of our slaves. Also, you know, teaching the nations the law, statutes, and commandments. But, you know, that's going to be a pretty straightforward thing. It ain't going to be like a strenuous type thing, because we're going to beat your ass into the law of the Most High. All right, we're going to force it on you, if that make any sense. So there ain't going to be no waking up, got to go teach this, and that. No, the law is going to go forth from Zion, and we're going to have ambassadors set up to teach you the law, because we ain't doing hands-on shit, but beating the hell out your ass, man. All right, but we will enforce the law, statutes, and commandments, and we will have delegators that we're going to delegate authority to, and they're going to teach the law. You know, but as far as waking up 9 to 5 and paying child, that ain't happening in the kingdom. We're going to actually know what it means to live and be free and not have to worry about something coming in the mailbox that's designed to destroy your whole life. That's why Jakes don't be checking their mailbox, man, because you'll get a bill in there from 20 years ago saying you owe $200,000 for a fucking car wreck. Like, what? Destroy your whole life, man, over stupid shit. But it says here, yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keep it at home, who enlarges his desire as hell. Yeah. Okay, he's in every other country but his own. Okay, you don't see him out there in the Caucasus or in Petra. But instead, he's in every nation. He's trying to invade Iran, right? He's in Iraq, Afghanistan, Taiwan. He's everywhere. And he's enlarging his desire as hell because that's what Esau does. He wants to heap with him all people. He wants that title of he's a dictator. That's what Trump is, man. It says, who enlarges his desire as hell and is deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gathering to him all nations and heaping to him all people. Exactly. Should not these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? And how long? And to himself that laden himself with thick clay. That's more of that, because even though he's cutting these programs and fundings from these programs, nonetheless, it still is going to increase the deficit, because where are you going to get the money from? You're going to print it out of thin air, which is going to cause inflation to go up, man. So all these programs, your mom and pop shops, your funding for this program, you Jakes, you ain't got a goddamn thing coming. Okay, you Jakes, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you ain't got a funding in the world coming for you. So you can forget about it. This devil don't care about you, man. So all you Jakes out there want to start your businesses and all that other shit, hey, you got to get that shit out the mud. They ain't going to have programs and stuff like that, or first-time business buy-up kits for you Jakes, man. That's always been a thing. Hell, even the first-time home buyers program, they offered in certain municipalities and shit. They offer you certain jobs that offer you a first-time buyers program. As long as you meet the qualifications, you get approved for a loan, and depending on your credit score, they'll work with you to put you in a home. But even then, they have to do that because not enough people are buying homes anymore, because homes are unaffordable. Okay, the average $200,000-$300,000 house is going for $400,000-$500,000 now, man. I'm talking about for some cheap shit. Hell, I remember you could get a home for $70,000. Like my grandmother, she's in Chicago. Like the home she lived in back in the 90s, that was probably like a $60,000, $70,000 home. Now that whole house she got is every bit of $300,000, probably more, because it's one of those plush brownstone homes. They taxing for that shit. You gotta thank these Edomite, man. Okay, so let's listen to some more.
Sir, waiting for the next treatment that can save their lives. $129 million, healthcare quality and safety research. $756 million, emergency preparedness and disaster response. $1.3 billion, FEMA community disaster preparedness grants. $707.
A lot of this shit is for them data centers too. But see, he put the money in them data centers too, though. He'll take money from you, but he'll put a hundred bill in a data center to build it up and displace your ass, man. That's the devil for you.
$1 million cybersecurity protection for critical infrastructure that's going to be targeted by foreign adversaries because we're waging this war. $52 million airport and transportation security. $40 million protection against chemical and biological warfare threats. Again, at a time we're waging war. $53 million funding for Homeland Security operations. $3.3 billion community development block grants.
You notice he didn't cut the ICE fucking budget. He actually increased the ICE budget. I think about like $1 billion or something like that. Last time I checked, it was like 100 something. I think like, I don't want to get the numbers wrong, but it was quite a bit. He increased the ICE budget, and that come with building them detention centers and all that other shit that they want to place your people in. That's coming too. But I guarantee you, his budget or his salary didn't decrease. In fact, they said that he made more money this year than any other president combined in the past. I think he's what, the 40s, wait, 40, is it 40, 5 and 44. I think he's like the 47th president, if I'm not mistaken. I don't keep up with that shit no more, but allegedly they say he made more money than all the presidents combined, which, I mean, I don't know how true that is, but hell, Elon Musk became a fucking multi-billionaire. His salary jumped damn near to a billion, to damn near a billion within 1 year. So just imagine how much his salary increased. While you people can't even fucking pay your rent. That should piss you people off, man.
For local neighborhoods fully eliminated. 1.3 billion affordable housing construction grants fully eliminated. I thought this fucking administration was about affordable housing. And if you're a contractor that already was awarded grants to build affordable housing, you're screwed. How many of you supported Trump? $1.3 billion programs to reduce homelessness, $529 million housing assistance for people living with AIDS. When you're advanced with AIDS, you can't work. $489 million.
And I do know about that program. They have housing for people like that. He's cutting all that shit.
Housing and services for Native American communities we already decimated. $50 million grants to help communities build more housing, fully eliminated. $60 million enforcement of fair housing and anti-discrimination laws. How fucking convenient. $53 million home buyer and rental counseling services. $45 million renewable energy development programs. Here's one. $1.7 billion grants for local law enforcement and public safety. Hey, MAGA mayors, MAGA police officers, MAGA city council members, your Support Blue programs are being cut. How do you like that? How many of you support?
They don't have ICE. And they already got a foreign military, the IDF, merged with the American military. So there you go, your police force. They plan on phasing out the regular cops, man. There's a lot of cops out there. They're going to end up applying the ICE if they haven't already. Shit, that $50,000 sign-on bonus don't sound bad to them.
Donald Trump. 1.6 billion job training for at-risk youth. 234 million worker safety and labor protection programs. Look how many people died on the job in 2026 alone. 101 million enforcement of equal pay and workplace anti-discrimination laws. 46 million programs to combat child labor and forced labor. 2 billion international humanitarian aid, including the humanitarian crisis we're causing right now with this war. 1.2 billion food aid for hungry families abroad, fully eliminated. 4.3 billion global health and disease prevention programs. Diseases that start overseas get carried over here. 642 million international economic and treasury programs, 350 million democracy and anti-corruption programs, 486 million grants for public transit projects at a time that oil prices are sky high, $4.2 billion electric vehicle charging infrastructure, 372 million airline services for rural and small communities, 145 million grants for sustainable and equitable infrastructure, 204 million loan Support Blue programs are being cut. How do you like that? How many of you supported Donald Trump? 1.6 billion job training for at-risk youth. 234 million worker safety and labor protection programs. Look how many people died on the job in 2026 alone. 101 million enforcement of equal pay and workplace anti-discrimination laws. 46 million programs to combat child labor and forced labor. 2 billion international humanitarian aid, including the humanitarian crisis we're causing right now with this war. 1.2 billion food aid for hungry families abroad, fully eliminated. 4.3 billion global health and disease
Your food pantries.
prevention programs. Diseases that start overseas get carried over here. 642 million international economic and treasury programs, 350 million democracy and anti-corruption programs, 486 million grants for public transit projects at a time that oil prices are sky high, $4.2 billion electric vehicle charging infrastructure, 372 million airline services for rural and small communities. 145 million grants for sustainable and equitable infrastructure. 204 million loans and investment for underserved communities. 1.4 billion IRS taxpayer services and enforcement. 100 million air pollution monitoring
I really don't mind if you cut that shit. That's some BS anyway.
reduction programs fully eliminated. 1 billion EPA grants to states for environmental protection. 2.5 billion clean drinking water and wastewater infrastructure funds. 90 million grants to reduce diesel pollution. Billions and billions and billions for NASA programs. This is going to make Elon so happy because he gets more money for SpaceX programs. 170 million small business administration operations. 150 million loans for small businesses at a time when so many people are losing their careers to AI and need to start small businesses because there's no other jobs out there. We're waging this war for a country that provides free health care. And this supports Project 2025 that wants to eliminate all federal programs so states get all the power to run their country like mini Christian white nationalist governments.
Yeah, well, they want this war. And you voted for that devil. So, hey, the joke's on you people. We know what it was. And it reads up. It says, should they not rise up that should suddenly bite thee, and awake that should vex thee, and thou should be unto bullies unto them? Yep, spoils. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people should spoil thee, because of men's blood, and the violence of the land, the city, and all that dwell therein. But woe to him that coveteth evil covenants to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Yeah, you know, he's trying to add to his new world order because he feels that he can overstep the Most High, but he's going to have a rude awakening in that department. It says, thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people and hast sinned against thy soul. Yep. You fucking your own people over, my man. All right, all those cuts to federal programs. Hey, he, like I said, he's doing it because the small hats pretty much got a gun to his back. And he's going to do it because, I mean, shit, all that information going to come out about him, that he was part of the Epstein. They all were part of it. So, but regardless of it, it's all part of prophecy because the Heavenly Father has no good intention for this place but destruction. And it says, for the stone shall crowd of the wall, and the beam of the timber shall answer it. But woe to him that builded a town with blood, and established a city by iniquity. And how was America established? Off the bloodshed of Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. All right. It says, behold, is it not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves for very vanity? Yep. And everybody, you know, they work. They got to pay taxes. You know, you got to pay bills. And you're constantly a debt slave, waking up, punching the clock just to make another motherfucker rich. And people are at the point now, they just don't want to deal with it anymore. People are crashing out. And eventually they're just going to stop going to work and paying their bills because, I mean, at the end of the day, people don't want to give their money into a bunch of people that's just going to fuck it over. All right, so this is the book of James 5:1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your misery that should come upon you. And it's talking about you Rothschild, you global elite, okay, you rich men. You know, it ain't talking about the millionaire, the common millionaire. It's talking about men like the Rothschilds, your elite bankers, okay? And it reads, your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. It reads, your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as of a fire. It reads, you have heaped treasures together for the last days. Yep. And how did they do that? By hoarding all the gold, okay, by stealing the resources. Allegedly, with this whole water crisis shit, with these data centers, is that the elites are harboring water, or they're distributing water to those underground facilities, those underground bunkers, man. Because we know that the elites, if they're not already in the bunkers hiding, they're going to go down there and they're going to watch this whole thing unfold. That's why you got them flock cameras every goddamn where, because they're going to tap into the chaos and the purge that's going to happen above ground, so to speak. You know? And you Jakes, man, y'all not ready to face that type of reality. But that's the time we're in. Um, it says, behold, the hires of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, that's the workers, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered to the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. And when they was going into the thing, citizen or citizens, it really just goes into slave. Okay, citizens and employees, it just means slave. And Jake was the biggest debt citizens here. Okay, off the back of Israelites, the debt. We become debt slaves, and why the rich become rich. That's in the law. All right, it says that we should, he should lend to us, but we should not lend to him. And he should come up high and we should come down very low. Now that's affecting all people. That's affecting Edomites too, because the Edomites are debt slaves, which shows you that the curses are switching over to them. Because how is this your world and you're subjugated to penalties by the IRS, or you're getting evicted, or you foreclosing on homes at a quicker rate than Israelites, man? That shows you that the curses are on these devils. So if anybody's going to crash out, it's going to be Esau, you know? But it reads here, it says, the cries which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. It says, ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and been one time, which is undisciplined, and have nourished your hearts as in the days of slaughter. Yup, stealing everything like there was supposed to be an audit on Fort Knox, trying to figure out where the gold went, but that gold ain't up in there, man. And everybody knows that. The elites got that. They took that. They ran that. All right. But it says here, ye have condemned and killed the just, and he does not resist you. Right. Because like she mentioned, you know, they cutting all these programs and all that's taxpayers' money. It's all funded through taxpayers' dollars, man. Hell, even the transgender research on animals was funded 20 million. I think it was 20 million or 20 billion that was stolen from taxpayers to fund transgender research on animals, which is crazy work, man. And it reads, be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth, and have long patience for it until ye receive the early and latter rain. So be ye also patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. So, yeah, man, eventually this shit is just going to die off. All right, ain't going to be no going to work, as I mentioned. Ain't going to be no federal aid. Ain't going to be no food pantries. And people, they're just going to lose it because they're used to being fed, you know, off the backs of the government, which technically is all our money anyway. Let's go here. Psalms 140:2. It says, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually they are gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adders poison is under their lips. Salah. Yep. War, war, war. And he's spending every dime to go to fucking war to appease the small hats, because they have what they call the Greater Israel Project, when they're trying to make an ethnic cleansing of the land of Israel, which does not belong to them, by the way. You know, Sirach 4:1, it says, my son, defraud not the poor of his living, and make not the needy eyes to wait long. And that's all Esau did, was defraud our people. His own people even being defrauded. But hey, the hell with you Edomites, man. Because when Jake was the underprivileged, which we still are, ain't nobody offer no helping hand to Jake, man. Instead, you forward the affliction. Make not a hungry soul sorrowful, neither provoke a man in his distress. And see, he's provoking people. He's going to wake up the sleeping bear, and people are going to start to come up against this system. People are going to start striking more, protesting more. People are going to start attacking data centers. People are already trying to burn these damn data centers down, these surveillance systems or surveillance centers. All right, because people are realizing that it's taking resources from them, making their bills more expensive, and getting them sick. It says, add not more trouble to a heart that is vexed, and defer not to give him that is in need. Reject not the supplication of the afflicted, neither turn away the face from a poor man. Turn not away thy eye from the needy, and give him none occasion to curse thee. Right. For if he curse thee in the bitterness of his soul, his prayer should be heard of him that made him. So the Heavenly Father is getting ready to bring fire and brimstone upon your habitation and these jobs, your economies. People just going to start saying, fuck it, we don't want to deal with it no more. But anyway, I'm going to end it. All praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Bashim Rakakadash. Lord's will you will edify. To the next lesson. Shalom.